Emma was clearly embarrassed, and she was trying hard not to make any noise, so as not to give us away. We were visiting her mother today, and she was afraid her mother might hear something. Her cheeks flushed, and she bit her lip, as if holding back every sound. On the other hand, I wanted her mom to hear how good we were together, how well we were communicating. The thought that my mother-in-law, Sophia, might still be awake and within earshot intrigued me. Maybe she was imagining something in her head, assembling the sound fragments into a vivid picture. It was a fascinating sight that I couldn't fully explain. But soon it was over, and Emma fell asleep, her breathing soft and even in the silence of the night. For a while I lay beside her, looking up at the ceiling, my thoughts darting about. Finally, I pulled the robe over her, feeling it tight against her body, and slipped quietly out of the room, closing the door carefully behind me. The faint light from the kitchen drew me in, and I wandered down the hallway, hoping to find something to restore my strength. By the refrigerator, I found Sophia squatting and finishing her yogurt with casual ease. She was wearing a light nightgown that emphasized her natural beauty and seemed almost ethereal in the dim glow of the kitchen light. Her dark hair fell loosely around her shoulders, and there was something captivating about the way she moved, unhurried and graceful. I froze, caught off guard by the sudden closeness of the moment. She noticed me, of course, but said nothing, continuing to savor her yogurt as if I wasn't even there. "You don't need a spoon?" I asked finally, breaking the lingering silence. "No," she replied with a small smile. "It tastes better this way." She continued to lick the yogurt off the cup. Her actions were both innocent and mesmerizing. "Want some?" she asked, holding out another unopened yogurt to me, her eyes sparkling with humor and mischief. I took the yogurt from her hands, still feeling the warmth of her touch. No sooner had I opened it than she spoke again, her tone casual yet meaningful. "I heard you and my daughter had a good time," Sophia said, her words hanging in the air like a challenge. I almost choked on my answer, my throat suddenly dry. She reached out and patted my back, her touch both soothing and unsettling at the same time. "Did you hear us?" I stuttered, feeling the heat rising to my face. "Don't be embarrassed," she said, her voice low and soothing. "Grown-ups can have fun too." She rose gracefully and sat down on a stool, her presence commanding yet inviting. "Make me some tea," she added with a nonchalance that left no room for rejection. I had no choice but to turn on the light and start boiling water. As I went about my business, I became acutely aware of how ridiculous I looked in Emma's robe, which was too small for me. The fabric stretched over my shoulders and barely reached my knees, a comical contrast to the seriousness of the situation. The kettle whistled, breaking the silence. I poured tea for both of us and sat down next to her at the table. Sophia stared at me intently, a familiar glint in her eyes that made me both nervous and excited. The way she held her teacup, her fingers slender and purposeful, heightened the tension in the room. She spoke first again, her voice cutting through the silence with practiced ease. "You probably think I'm so old that some thoughts don't even cross your mind," she said, her tone teasing but with a hint of vulnerability. "You look amazing," I replied, and my words sounded more sincere than I intended. My heart raced as I realized how deeply I'd said it. Her lips curved in a sly smile. "So such thoughts do cross your mind," she teased, leaning into me slightly. At that moment, something changed between us. It was as if the air became charged, and I couldn't stop that flow pulling us closer. She put her hand on my leg, and her touch sent a shiver through me. "Tell me, son-in-law, do you think of me? How often?" she asked, her voice soft but insistent. "Very often," I admitted, and the words came out on their own before I could stop them. My confession felt like both a weight and a burden at the same time. "You cheeky bastard," she laughed, her laugh light and melodic. She straightened up, her movements becoming deliberate. She stood up, walked around the table and settled into my lap, her proximity making my heart pound. "What exactly are you envisioning? And don't hold back. I don't look like family at this point. I need to know what's on your mind." Her bluntness stunned me, my thoughts floundering, trying to match the reality of the situation. She continued, her voice lowered almost to a whisper. "I've been thinking about you, too, imagining you sneaking into my bed at night, keeping the neighbors awake because of our secrets." Sophia stood up, her movement smooth and confident. She held out her hand, her eyes meeting mine. "Let's not stay here. Let's go to my room," she said, commanding and inviting at the same time. Her fingers flexed slightly, encouraging me to take her hand. The moment seemed surreal, as if time had slowed down just for us. When we reached her room, she gently pushed me onto the bed and began her game, her movements deliberate yet restrained. Her hair fell forward and touched my face as she leaned closer and her breath warmed my skin. We moved with the utmost caution, our actions dictated by the need for silence. The thought of Emma asleep in the next room made our movements all the more poignant, heightening every sensation. Every touch, every whispered word was amplified in the silence of the house, the tension and thrill of the mystery binding us together. And somehow, against all odds, we succeeded, and the night was filled with whispered secrets and forbidden play, an adventure I would remember for a long time.